This is a Beneteau GT32. It's a brand new model this year, and it's a very interesting boat indeed. I'm going to explain to you exactly why. Now, this is the smallest in a model range that goes up to 50 feet. I think there's 4 boats. I think there's a 40 and a 46 and a 50, if I remember rightly. I might have that slightly wrong. But this is a particularly intriguing one, and one of the most obvious things is the fact that it has no side decks. Now, there's a very good reason for that. As we go on board, I will explain it to you. So we'll head on via the bathing platform, and the reason that it has no side decks is to absolutely maximize this cockpit space, which for a 32-foot boat is huge. This, in fact, they say has the same volume in here as the old 40-footer version used to have. So it's a very big cockpit area indeed for a 32-foot boat, and of course length is important because most of the costs, like a berthing, craneage, that sort of thing, are based on length. So to keep the length down, put the volume up, is the holy grail. And you have got a really good big social area here. You've also got a fridge, and your hobber's up here as well, and there's a sink also. So your main galley area really is up here. That just lifts up like that, and then ahead of that you have got the helm position, and these are a couple of really nice seats actually. So you've got stand or sit bolsters, a nice chunky steering wheel, and your helm is here. You could put a larger plotter in if you wanted to. It's got space for it there. This is a pretty decent size anyway, this Garmin. And you've also got VHF radio, and all the controls are here. Your engine controls are here as well. We'll come to talk about the engines, of course. And there's an opening side window, and then there's a button up here that if we press it, there's a solid sliding roof section. And that really opens this area around. It suddenly feels like a much more open boat. And another thing I do like is that you've got the 2 seats here, but then there's another 2 seats alongside. You don't often see 4 forward-facing seats on a boat of this size. That is great for when you're cruising. But what about those side decks, and how do we get to the front? Well, this is where this boat gets super clever, because you might notice this disappears around here. There's a large opening door section. This will of course close off. You can see this comes across. It's clipped back at the moment, and there's a section there that comes, so this can be all completely enclosed. But when you're manoeuvring the boat, or on a day like today, or when you're at anchor of course particularly, you open that, and that brings this brilliantly into play. Now, most foredeck areas on boats this size tend to be a little bit out of bounds. You can get up onto them, but they're just sort of cabin roofs really. They've completely changed it on this. You've got this wonderful walkway all the way around to the front, and in fact they've made it quite flat fronted as well, so you've got maximum space here. Again, we're back to the length of the boat being important from a cost point of view, because if you put a point on there, you've sort of got to pay for everything forward of there as well. So they've been quite clever. It is a V underneath of course, but in terms of the deck it's very squared off, and it means you get this. How lovely is that? What a great area when you're at anchor, or when you're cruising gently down the coast at sort of 6 or 7 knots, to lie out here. It's brilliant, and it means that the whole length of this boat suddenly becomes day space, deck space. This is normally dead space. I think that's fantastic. And of course, you bring the boat into a berth like this, you want to get the bow line on, put some fenders down, well, you just come up here and do it. I think that's a stroke of genius. I think that's great. Let's head on back and take a look at the interior. But look at all the space on here, all this deck space. And I think they've been clever, because people with 32-foot boats, it's a bit bigger than my boat, mine's a 26-foot boat, but it's a very similar kind of usage. We go down, we have a lovely day out, and then we go home in the evening, or perhaps we have a weekend on the boat, or maybe a couple of days on the boat. It's not the size of boat and the style of boat you tend to go away for weeks at a time. You could, of course, there's plenty of space to do it, but most people aren't. So they've really optimized this for day space and for occasional weekending, and that is taken care of by the cabin down here. Now, they've not tried to cram too much into this, so you've got a lovely big seating area down here. A lot of 32-foot boats, they'll try and put a forward cabin in, and it makes it really small. You end up with a very small saloon, very small forward cabin. As I say, people aren't spending weeks at a time, so it's not really that necessary. This will convert to a double bed if you want it to. You can see these little bits here, so that you can take the table leg out, drop it down. There's infill cushions that go on, and that is a big double bed. But if it's just the 2 of you, and with this size boat often it is, you don't need to convert it, because there's a mid cabin. So you've got a changing area as you come in, big windows, so plenty of light into here, and then a large double bed. And again, very clever. They've raised it on this side, so where your head is, you don't feel too claustrophobic, but then it drops, and that, of course, is the cockpit floor. So it's using this area twice. And it's a trade-off on this size of boat. Of course, you could increase the height in here, but then you increase everything up above. So you've got to try and factor all that in. And I think they've done a good job with this, because you could sleep in there. It's a really wide bed. You're not feeling claustrophobic because you've got this area here, but it is keeping that floor low as well. That works well. And in fact, if we go right into here, it raises up even further there. There's a window that opens. Yeah. That's sleeping there, no problem at all. That's fantastic. There's a bit of storage in here. It's not massive, but as I say, it's not really a long distance, long period of time boat. That one, you're going to ask me, so I'm going to open it. There's actually service batteries and that kind of thing in there. Bit of storage as well. So that's that. What else have we got in here? Well, storage up there. They have actually put a small oven in here as well. So again, weekend on board, you want to heat something up, you can do it. There's that hob up in the cockpit as well, of course. And that's the other fridge, which is always useful. This is more storage. And this is intriguing. What's this? Ah, you see there's a curtain track up there. You can curtain this all off. So if you want a bit of privacy, if you've got people sleeping up at this end, that comes across. It means people from here can go and use the loo, and it maintains the privacy of the people in there. Clever. I think for a 32-foot boat, they've done well with this. Let's see what else we can find while we're here. That's more storage. And I'm guessing that is around the front as well. Certainly that storage up along here. You can open that end one. Like so. Fusion hi-fi system, that's underneath there. And another little locker just there. And finally down here, of course, you've got the loo. The heads, I should say. That's in here. So, toilet, a nice sink, and in fact a separate shower. When I say separate, I mean you can close it off. So this comes across, and it means you can shower in there and keep the rest of it dry. I think there's a touch of brilliance about this boat. I think for a 32-foot boat, it's hard to imagine you'd find anything that's going to give you more day space and yet still sleep 4 people if you want to, and 2 very comfortably indeed without making up beds. Let's look in here. Okay, that's the switches for the battery isolators and so on. All very get-atable. Talking of which, we haven't looked at the engines. Let's go and have a look at the engines. To do that, this whole back section lifts up from here. So these are stern drive engines. Now you can have Mercruiser 230 or 260 horsepower engines. This has got slightly smaller 230 horsepower engines, but they're still giving about 35 knots and cruising therefore in sort of mid-20s, I would think, that sort of area. And range, well, typically with this sort of boat, a couple of 100 miles plus or minus. But that's actually a pretty decent engine room, because you can get right in and around for a small boat. That's pretty good, and I do like the fact there's someone to stand at this end. Sometimes you open these hatches and the engines come right to here and you think that's great, but where am I going to stand? So that works well. Fuel tanks are in here as well, of course. And there's an area here which I'm guessing is probably for a generator. And then another fuel tank opposite. So it is a 32-foot boat. It's not the biggest engine room I've ever been in, but it's perfectly good. And perfectly good performance too. Excellent. Let's come out of here. So that's about the size of it. That is the Beneteau GT32. As I say, it's a brand new boat this year, and I think it's a really interesting one. A lot of thought has gone into that, and a lot of clever ideas. Hope you enjoyed that one. As ever, if you've not subscribed, do me a favour, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel, and it'll keep you posted new videos coming, and we will look forward very much to catching you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye. As an opening side window, but one thing I do like particularly is the roof, because there is a button here somewhere Da, da, da. Wipers, washers, don't know. There's the roof. Oh.